Hey, you're probably thinking, Clarky's having a walk out in the woods again. Well, I'm going to use the same line I used in a previous video. All is not what it seems. Let's go back to the start, shall we? Here we are, with the truck. A while back, I did a video and I said, due to this thing being environmentally unfriendly, I was going to go on foot, doing my bit for the planet. But since then, I've had a rethink. In fact, I'm going to sit down to tell you this. And the reason I'm going to sit down is because every bone in my body is aching at the moment. I had to go at something I haven't done for years, and it's that football. You know, that's that thing where people knock a bag of wind around. And for some reason, there must be muscles in my body I haven't used since the last time I did that, and everything is bloody hurting. So, ooh, yes. Oh. Right. So there's two things that are an issue when I want to go away. One, carrying that big rucksack about. Simple, I thought. Put everything in the back of this thing. Then comes the next problem. Where to go? We're in England. The only place you can camp legally is on a campsite. Well, I don't want to do that. I want to go immerse myself in the woodland and the hills and the mountains. So I've been driving all the way to Scotland to do that. Yeah, okay, you can camp in England, but you have to do a bit of stealth camping, you know, little tarp low on the ground, leave the site as you found it when you go away so nobody knows you've been there. But I didn't want to really go that far, and I got talking to somebody the other day, and I'll probably mention them later, but they kindly offered me the use of some woodland, and so that is only an hour from where we are now, and so that's what I'm doing. I've got something to carry the stuff instead of me, and I've got somewhere to go that's not far from home. So back to Clarky in the woods. Really enjoyable drive, this. No traffic, no queues, no angry aggressive drivers, just relaxing. I love it. Well, we're here. Home sweet home for the next 2.5 days. And where's home? I'll show you in a minute. Now I know what you're thinking. How did Clarky knock that up so quick? Well, obviously I didn't. But here's a couple I did knock up way back when I was 16 years old. The kind people who've allowed me to come up here, they did, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the company later on. But one of the things I'm going to have to set up is my tarp. I'm going to have another go with that setup and hopefully become proficient with it, because this is the last chance that I'll get before I have to use it for real, as you might say. And the building behind me, well, one of the other things I'm going to be doing is practicing a little bit of things that I've learned in that very building. And I am no expert. I am just an amateur. And if I wanted to be as talented and knowledgeable as the people who instruct in that building, I would have to live for a lot more years yet. In fact, I'd probably be dead before I got anywhere near their knowledge. Ooh, that's a bit of a negative thought, isn't it? Let's not think like that. Got a good 30 years left, hopefully. Yeah, so we'll talk more about what happens here normally. I'm on my own up here today, which is great, because you know I just love being in the woods on my own. So I'm going to get my camp set up, and then we'll come back and have another look at what I'm thinking of doing next, because right at this moment in time, other than unloading my big rucksack over there, or the truck as we now know it, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. So let's crack on with that, and we'll decide about that later. That's the truck parked. So one of the first things I'm going to be concentrating on is safety, and to that end, first thing I've done is attach my personal locator beacon to myself. Might seem a bit of overkill, but I'm going to be out here for 2.5 days. People know where I am and they know when to expect me back, but should I have some sort of mishap before me, as long as I'm conscious, I can activate that to get help. The next safety thing I'm going to think about is I'm going to put my boots on, because most of this terrain around here is ankle breaking terrain. So get the boots on, protect my feet. That's the next job. Well, there we are, camp set up. I'll give you a little tour around now and show you a little bit about the tarp, things I've been struggling with when I first put it up, but I think I've got it sus now, maybe. So here we are with the setup, and things are not quite as straightforward as you might think. What could be harder? You buy yourself a tarp, you buy yourself a hammock, and off you go into the woods. Right, the first issue, we'll start with the tarp. Over this side, we've got a tree that's about, I don't know, shall we say 30, 40, 45 centimetres diameter. And then we've got one there that's 3 times as big. So what's the problem with that? Well, I'll show you. It's not a problem for the tarp, because we're just tying it up with a bit of paracord here. But for the hammock, they come with a tree hugger, and this is the tree hugger, and it's only big enough to go around a tree this size, which is where I encountered difficulties the last time I brought it out. We'll step over these. And the other problem was that I couldn't even get my arms around the tree with that one. So I looked into it, and what you need is some daisy chains. This is a daisy chain. Wrap it around the tree once, and it's got these little points to clip your carabiner onto all the way down, so you can adjust it very easily. As well as the hammock is attached with whoopee slings as well, which are also adjustable. I don't know why they call it whoopee strings. Whoopee slings. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But another issue is, if you're only 5'6", like what I am, you can't reach very high up the tree. It's not about tree huggers, I can't even get my arms around this one. So I can only just get the tarp up high enough to be able to hang the hammock underneath and still leave ground clearance when I sit down in the hammock. So yeah, it's not as straightforward as you would think. And you can see I keep stepping over these guy ropes, and since last time I've changed these to orange. And why have I changed them to orange? Because I kept tripping over the damn things in the night, didn't I? So although it's not what you might call blending in with the environment, from a safety point of view, orange is the way to go. Unless you're stealth camping and you want to hide. So that's the tarp. What we'll do now is we'll just go inside and we'll just have a little look at the hammock situation. Well, there we are. I've been in and out of this, so I know I can get in it, and I know it's got ground clearance. The big issue was the thermarest mattress, which is here. I'm not going to take it out. I've only just got it in. Initially I put it, the idea being to slide it between here. You can slide an under blanket or something under there, I'm not sure what you could do, but you could put something in there. But the problem with the thermarest is as soon as you get on it and move, it slips out from underneath you, and then it slips out the other way. I tried my oblong one, the bigger one, and then I've gone back to the mummy shaped one. And the reason I've gone back to the mummy shaped one is, I'll show you. It's wedging in at the end and tending not to slide any far further backwards, whereas the other one used to go right up in the air like that and you'd end up sleeping on nothing. So yeah, I think we're all set. Whether we're going to have a good night's sleep or not, I've learnt that you can't get into the sleeping bag while it's in there. We're not without great difficulty anyway, so we'll be using the system of getting into it before we get in. If I could have had a higher tarp, I would have had more headroom, but because I'm a little short ass, I can't get it any higher. I guess if I'm on a trip, what I need is somebody with me that's about 6'3" and get them to put it up. Right, let's go and on to the next little job. Right, I think what I'll do is I'll just give you a little tour of, oh, I don't know what to call it. I guess it's my little house for today and tomorrow. So come on, we'll have a look inside and see what I've got in there. So coming inside, this is a training area. You may also sit and eat your food and fire to cook your meals on. So it's a communal area and it's used predominantly for training various skills. Right, let's take a look over here. So this area is I've designated for my fire starting kit. We've got a bow drill set, we've got some flint and steel, oh nice sparks, drill for the bow, got a tin here to make char cloth. There is some inside, but this cotton here is what we're going to be using to make some more. And I call this my little foraging pouch, but what it is it's full of bits and pieces to start fire with. I've got matches and lighter, the obvious things, ferrocium rods, and we've got some fat wood bits in there, and we've got some amadou. So yeah, that's the fire starting area. Right, on to the next place. I didn't know what to call this, but I'll just call it my office. Got camera stuff, and I've got a map here. I'm going to do a little bit of map reading while I'm here, and other bits and pieces which I designate office. Oh, don't ask me what the toilet roll has to do with office. I have no idea, but one can never be too far away from toilet roll, because although there's plenty of things out there that I could use on my bottom, I prefer to use this. Oh, this is environmentally sustainable toilet roll. Cheeky Panda or something, can't remember what it's called, but anyway, it's supposed to be biodegradable and doesn't cause any problems with the environment. I don't know about these things. Right, on to the next place. Whoa. Now this is the box that I brought everything in, so anything that I aren't using apart from now and then, there's some spare clothes in there, there's the trail cam, the orange stuff, bits and pieces, but everything that's scattered around here will all go back in there when we leave. Right, next thing. Oh. So this is the kitchen area, I guess you'd call this. We've got some water there. These are cooking utensils, bowl and soap and sponge to wash plates with and wash myself. I do get a wash occasionally. This is my latest acquisition and I had no idea how heavy it was going to be. I looked at them and I thought, shall I go for the small one? I thought, no, go on, spoil yourself, go for a big one. Well, you'd think I was cooking for about 10 with one this size, and as for picking it up with one hand, you can forget that for me. I'm going to need two. And I brought some, what's that say? Ashbeck English. That's water. You're going to say, what's wrong with the water in there? Well, I'll tell you what's wrong with the water in there. It came out of my tap at home and it's got so many chemicals in it, it's either going to kill me or cure any disease I've ever had. Either way, I'm trusting in this. Got a plate there, and this is a fridge, but it's not working because it kept things cool running on the engine as we brought it over here, but the food's in here. But it should be all right for a couple of days. Touch wood, you know. I've got some diarrhea tablets just in case. Right, on to the next bit. So we're into the fire lighting now. We've got the axes and this, and I'll show you this later. This is an Agua 21-inch folding saw. Lovely piece of equipment, but we'll have a look at that later. Firewood, logs. Now I know what you're thinking. It's gone to a lot of effort to chop all them logs up, because these are mine. I haven't taken anything from the company that runs this place. I brought all my own stuff in. So yeah, I was working really hard at getting these logs. Or would it be easier to nick them off a mate? Let's have a look. Yeah, we've got some dry grass here, which we're going to use, and some tongs. I like me tongs for poking around with. Obviously, I'm going to need some gloves picking up that skillet. So, yeah, we've got some silver birch in here that'll burn like 1-0. And that's about it. So all that remains is to get the fire going, and to that end I'm going to take a little walk and get some tinder to, like to say, some very small twigs. There's a pine forest down there, and that's got a lot of small thin stuff ideal for lighting a fire. What we're looking for is a load of this stuff. So that shouldn't take too long, but a little walk down there next, and yeah, this has nothing to do with camping. This This is my director's chair. So right now I'm going to say cut. So gonna go get some kindling for starting the fire. Just want to mention these two things. There's 4 things I'm going to take with me when I go off into the wood. I'm going to take my knife, which is on there, the locator beacon, which is in my pocket, my mobile phone. Now there is a signal around here, so I'm definitely taking that. And the one thing I always take when I'm going away from camp is the first aid kit, especially if I'm using the knife. But the advantage of coming up in the truck this time is that I've been able to bring a bigger first aid kit. And to be honest, if you're going to be living out here for any length of time, an even more substantial first aid kit would be worth having. But this is all I've got. This is what I keep in my vehicle, and this is what I use when I'm just wandering around backpacking. So I'm going to clip this on, pick the phone up, and then on our way to get some kindling. Well, it appears the char cloth isn't very good. We've had it lit 3 times, and 3 times it's gone out. So we're going to try something else. Of course, could revert to matches, but that's not why we're here. Well, good morning. And did I manage to sleep? Yeah. Yeah, it's been the best night I've had so far in this hammock. It would not be my first choice of where to sleep. Flat ground with a nice non-moving mattress would be great. Being at this height, just off the ground, actually suits me because I can reach everything I want. I wasn't sure, this is the pee-wee bottle, and I'd attached it to a piece of string because I wasn't sure in the dark whether I'd be able to find it, so I'd just grab hold of that, but it was fine. This is the new one. I am not bragging, but the opening on the top isn't quite wide enough, so I'm going to have a rethink and see if I can find something different. You know, I mean, I don't want to go into why it's not wide enough, but needless to say, it did its job, and I managed to go to the toilet twice in the night, because that's what us old folks do, without any
mess, dribbles, anything like that. So yeah, that worked. I'm going to get out and I'll point out a couple of other things you need to consider when you're putting your tarp up. So I say I'm going to get out, but let's try and get out without knocking the pee-wee bottle over. Put that over there. Oh. Right, let's get up and see what I'm going to do next, because I haven't decided yet. Breakfast maybe. Up, up. Oh. Right. Oh, if you wonder where my trousers are, they're in here. Still with my locator beacon attached, just in case I had to call for help in the middle of the night. I think the first thing I'll do is empty the pee-wee bottle, and for that I'm going to walk quiet away into the woods so I'm not polluting the camping area, and then I'm going to give it a wash out, and then it'll be ready for more pee-wee or water, drinking water. Right, switching you off, don't want you having to watch me getting dressed. Now, anybody who goes out on any sort of trip and expedition, they'd say, first job, get the fire going so we can get the kettle on. Well, I don't drink hot drinks, and I know some of you think that the only thing I drink is alcohol, but you'd be wrong, because there is no alcohol whatsoever on this trip. When I'm out alone in the forest or wherever, I like to leave the alcohol at home, because that's just one more thing that could affect my judgment, and judgment is something we have to get right all the time out here. Anyway, so I haven't used this for a while, but I'm going to use this Robinson's Mini Orange, and the idea is I'm going to squirt it into my bottle and top it up with water, and that should give me an orange drink that'll last me all day, along with the water I've got. So no coffee for me, orange drink. This is going to be a bit of trial and error, so I'll switch you off while I faff around with it. Well, if you like orange juice, I can recommend one of these. I've used about a fifth of this, which left just a little sliver in the bottom of this bottle, and I've got a full bottle of drink out of it, and it does taste like orange. Obviously how much you put in depends on how strong you like your orange, but yeah, I'm really pleased with that. In fact, when I finish this Lucasade, I'll top one of these up to put over by the hammock for the night. Right, I'm going to tidy a few bits away. I did my washing up last night, so I'm going to tidy these bits away and then think about getting some breakfast. And what's for breakfast? Well, it's my usual when I'm away from home with facilities, shall we say, like on the yacht or in a situation like this. So this morning it's croissants with blackcurrant jam and a boiled egg. Yummy. Back to the hammock. Before you pitch your hammock, you have to think about where you're going to put it. Normally you'd be looking for a flat piece of ground. This is a hammock, so you don't have to worry too much about that. But the piece of ground, I want to make sure that there's no bees' nests or there's no ants' nests right underneath where I'm going to be getting in and out, because I don't like getting stung and bitten.
which I did do last night. I've got a little bite under there, but I can live with that. The other thing is that you want the trees that are suitable to connect to. I mentioned earlier about finding one that's the right width and it's the right distance apart. Well, the right type of tree. It's not so much there's a right type of tree, but there is a few wrong ones that you don't want to be underneath. So the first thing I'm going to do when I get somewhere, I'm going to have a look up there and I'm going to see if there's any dead wood likely to fall on me. Now I've had a look up there and there's a couple of very thin branches that look dead because there's no leaves on them at this time of year, but nothing that's probably going to kill me. I say probably, you know, I could be really unlucky, but anyway, we'll hope not. So looking up there, although it is a canopy with quite a bit of light coming through, it's reasonably okay, I think. I'm happy to camp underneath here. Now if these were beech trees, there's no way I'd go anywhere near them. Or oak. Oak can be known for shedding its branches, heavy branches. So they can also be affected by sort of rainfall and water and different areas, different trees, but we won't go into that. You know, pine trees on the edge of forests that have just been cut, they could be susceptible to coming down, but we're just interested in where we are at the moment. The other thing I'd prefer would be to have protection from the prevailing winds. Well, the prevailing winds here tend to come from the southwest, which is sort of over there, which is why I was reasonably happy with this. I haven't got complete protection, but on the other side of the tarp I've sloped that quite steeply down, and should the wind come from there, it will give me a little bit of protection. Now this side, as you can see, I've tied this up to the tree. Fortunately there was a tree here. I could have just got myself a pole and put that in and put a guy rope on it, but the reason I've done that is because I like a view. So I can lay in my hammock and I can look out over the forest, and I've got a lovely view as opposed to being enclosed underneath the tarp. Something else that I'll just mention while I'm here, you sometimes find things growing around where you are and you might think, oh, I've got this fern here and everything, I want that out of the way. Well, one of the advantages of coming to these places and learning from people is, one of the things I learned was that this fern is a fern and ferns are protected. Bracken is not. So know the difference between the two, and maybe you want something to make a shelter with, don't go cutting the ferns, just take the bracken.